To go to Suzanne Clark right now. You might want to learn this name if you haven't already. She's a big deal. The first time the U.S. Chamber of Commerce as a CEO is a woman. That broke all sorts of precedent. Ms. Clark, very good to have you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So what's on your agenda? You got a new administration in town. You got an impeachment trial going on as we speak. The Chamber's priorities have tended to be in the past on free trade and all of that. Your predecessor, of course, challenged the Trump administration on that and some of these trade deals. What will be your focus?
Well, thanks for the opportunity. It's a great question. The urgent work we have before us, right? We've got to get a pandemic relief bill done. We've got industries that have been punched in the stomach. We've got families that are hurting. We have schools that can't reopen. And so we would like to see a bipartisan compromise where they come together. There's a lot of agreement in the room. Let's get this done. Let's get it done fast. Let's also then turn to infrastructure, immigration. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, when on this stimulus deal, you're okay, the broad parameters that the Biden administration has laid out. It's going to be $1.9 trillion. It could have a wage component in it, a $50 federal wage. That seems unlikely, but you never know. As you know, it's clear to House committee to have just that included. Would you be okay with that?
No, we don't support a $15 minimum wage and are hopeful that that's not in the final package. This should be a package that's about helping American families right now. This should be a package that's about getting targeted, temporary, timely relief to the people that are most hurting.
So when you look at the difference now dealing with the Democratic administration and some of its priorities, I know it comes down to we need stimulus. I think you supported that. If that feature, the higher wage component, weren't in there, if the checks to illegals weren't in there, would the chamber be supporting this stimulus plan?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say what we're supporting in the abstract, right? But we like where the bipartisan agreement is right now. More funding for the vaccine rollout, more getting schools and child care centers open, as long as that money's really going to places that are open, by the way, getting the next round of PPP loans in for companies. So there's a lot there that we can agree on and get behind. And you're right that the devil can be in the details, but we're hopeful that leaders are going to come together and do what's right for the American business community and the families that they support.
When you look at the landscape now and the business now, of course, markets have been racing in and out of all-time highs. All the averages seem to take turns hitting records. Some were worried that they're priced for perfection. I know Mr. Donahue in the past refused to weigh into markets and what they're doing and why they're doing it. But is part of you concerned that it's gotten frothy and that could backfire on businesses that use these gains really as currency to advance and expand? That's been the wind at their back.
I'm certain that I can't tell our sophisticated members how they should or shouldn't use the market, but I would say that we are concerned about what looks like a K-shaped recovery, that you do have people at the top and companies at the top and companies in the right industries that are doing really well, and you have a lot of people still being left behind. And, as we look at it, the economy is an ecosystem. And so small businesses are the customers and vendors and suppliers of big businesses. Small businesses employ an awful lot of the American consumers, and you know what consumer spending makes up of the GDP. So we do see this ecosystem coming together, and maybe we're a little bit less worried about the markets than we are what do we do about the downside of this K to make sure that the economic recovery is real, because it is an ecosystem at the end of the day, as you well know.
Ms. Clark, it could be just my read, and I might be wrong, but I got the sense, especially in the last half of the Trump administration, that there was friction there between the chamber and the White House. And when I started to seeing that a lot of business titans, even facing the possibility of higher taxes under President Biden, were more inclined to welcome that than welcome another 4 years of Donald Trump. And that what Donald Trump had done on trade deals and then sort of forcing them through and alienating our neighbors and alienating Canada and some of our friends, that it simply had gotten too volatile for them to condone and accept. And Mr. Donahue, of course, had a number of run-ins with the White House on these very issues. Did you share that when you were his number two?
I think if you look at the 108-year history of the chamber, which might be a little dull and long, but it does have a theme, which is we've worked with every single administration in that time. And depending on the administration, there's a bunch of stuff we support and there's a bunch of stuff that we oppose, right? And so our job is to show up every day and help job creators and American companies and help the government create a condition where they can thrive. That's our DNA. That's what we wake up to do. So you're in the Trump administration, and we're really supporting what they did on taxes and getting rid of onerous regulations and things that were great for business. And we were opposing them on some of the tariffs, trade issues that you just brought up, immigration, because workforce is so important to our members. Now you go to a Democratic administration and some of those issues might flop. I think what's important is that we don't change, that we have to show up every day and do what our members need us to do so that they can create jobs and help communities and help families and not be swayed by the rhetoric of the moment, right? We just have to stay on course, have a true north.
Now, obviously, more revenues come into the chamber thanks to aggressive recruiting efforts and to get companies on board. But the rap against the chamber, as I'm sure you're aware, Ms. Clark, is that it's too beholden to traditional corporate giants, less so to the technology and the new promising investment vehicles that are all the rage. That you're a dinosaur, not you specifically, but that the chamber is. What do you make of that? Do you hope to change the perception of that?
I have to decide how much I care about the perception of that versus the reality, which is that we have so many great technology companies, the big stalwarts that you would imagine, and the little tiny startups that are going to be the giants of tomorrow. So I think throughout history, we've been good at making sure we're representing all of industry, whether it's cutting edge, tech, gig, whatever it is, or the traditional stalwarts. And we'll keep that up. I mean, I think you're right that it's important that we have a value proposition that helps every industry and every company. And that's my job, and I'll make sure it's true.
So real quickly, Ms. Clark, there is talk that the Biden administration might junk the trade deals that Donald Trump was finishing up with the Chinese. If he chooses to take that path and all but start from scratch, what would be the chamber's view on that?
Look, again, you know this really well, that China's a complicated issue, right? It's a big market. It's an important market for a lot of our members. It creates that market creates a lot of jobs here at home. It's an important customer for the United States and for American business, and that's important. It's also laden with geopolitical risk and some strategic risk, and so it's a super complicated. Keep talking, stay tough, and pursue a multilateral approach that might bring some more pressure to bear on the talks.
All right, Ms. Clark, I wish you well. Suzanne Clark, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce incoming CEO. Thank you for taking the time. We enjoyed having you.
Thanks for your time.